Well, all right, my dear students. I think you are quite well with your studies and things are going on quite nicely in your place, that is under these trying times. As I have said a number of times before, today I'm going to do a correction, not do, but give you a short talk on the wife of Bath's tale, mostly on the text, because in the end of the time when you have done your exams and everything, it's the text that matters. So today it's going to be about the text of Chaucer's, Geoffrey Chaucer's Wife of Bath's Tale, which is a part of the bigger Canterbury Tales, that is. So I think you are quite familiar with the text by now because it's a very well known text and you have read it, and it's very easily available over the internet and in print, that is. Anyway, so the story is like it's set in the days of King Arthur, and the initial premise that comes into play is there's a knight in King Arthur's court who has committed a crime of violating a young virgin, of course without her consent, and the ladies, the high and lofty ladies of the court, they have taken the thing into their own hands, and they themselves have taken into their account that whatever justice or whatever trial that the knight's going to have is to be done by the ladies folk. The ladies, the high and lofty and knightly, of course they are the wives of knights and their family members, ladies, that is. Well, it must be understood that lady, L-A-D-Y, a lady is, in medieval times, she's a person who is mostly the consort or the companion of a knight. So the kind of chivalric and other ideals that a knight is supposed to imbue, they also pertain to the lady. So a court lady is well versed in statehood, the running of the state, medieval law, and of course literature, whatever that is available to them, court intrigues also. So this much for the ladies. So these are the you might say feminine judges who are going to decide on the knight's fate, as he has done the heinous crime of violating a young maiden, very unknightly, that is. A knight is supposed to be the protector of women, and he has done exactly the opposite. Well, now it's about the text. The text that I have in front of me is an internet edition of the Neville Coghill translation. That is, the original Middle English text was translated into modern English by Neville Coghill, and this is known as the Coghill translation. It's quite a famous translation of Chaucer. I am not saying it's a translation. I would say it's interpretation or reinterpretation or a redoing of the text, that is. It's not a literal translation because it was just Middle English. So, poetry by Geoffrey Chaucer, translation by Neville Coghill. Kindly remember this name because the Penguin book, which is the most well consulted book on Canterbury Tales in plain English, it's done by Neville Coghill. Now I will read to you certain portions of the text about the virgin's plight. Now it so happened, I began to sing. The wife of Bath is talking. She is telling her tale. Long, long ago, in good King Arthur's day, there was a knight who was a lusty liver. Liver here is someone who lives a lusty life. Now, lust in medieval usage, lust doesn't mean only the sexual lust. In the medieval age, lust also meant someone who is vivacious, boisterous, and leading one hell of a good life, that is. So a knight is supposed to be something like that. He saw a maiden walking all forlorn ahead of him. Alone she was born. So the maiden was alone, walking alone. And of that maiden, spite of all she said, she tried to resist. She protested against the knight's advances. By very force, he took his maidenhead. Maidenhead is another word for virginity. This act of violence made such a stir, so much petitioning to the king for her, that he condemned the knight to lose his head. By course of law, he was as good as dead. Now, this much for King Arthur's justice. So, the King Arthur has condemned the knight to be beheaded. Cutting off the head, it was a standard capital punishment in medieval times. What happens next is something that actually pulls us into the story. But that the queen and other ladies too implored the queen to exercise his grace. So ceaselessly he gave the queen the case and granted her his life. He gave the queen the case and granted her his life. That is, the life of the knight was placed in the hand of the queen. The decision was of the queen whether to keep it or just get off, chop chop with the head. Now the queen is actually trying to sort of impart some sort of feminine justice, and I am not saying the word feminine in a derogatory or a chauvinistic sense. That is, anyway, forgive my anyways, I say too much anyway nowadays. You stand, for such is the position still. I in no way certain of your life, said she. Don't be sure that I will give you your life. If you can't answer on the moment though, I will concede you this. So the famous question, that is, yet you shall live if you can answer me. So we are slowly getting to the point. That is, the queen wants the answer to a very, very important and a very interesting question. And the question is, what is the thing that women most desire? Well, this is a question which has perplexed the minds of everyone, from young lovers in their half pants to old men who are sort of given up on their wives and taken to philosophy or natural reminiscences or recollections of their things. Well, once again, I am not using philosophy in a derogatory sense. Philosophy means philosophy, that is the philosophy of life. So, a very interesting question, that is. A very, very interesting question. And the question is, what is it that women most desire? If the question is given a satisfactory answer, the knight gets off to keep his head. Otherwise, well, it's chop chop once again. If you have the axe, as I require, a 12-month and a day to seek and learn. 12-month and a day, a year and a day to seek and learn, to seek the answer to this question and learn sufficient answer, then you shall return. Well, the knight is given a 1-year period to go on and get the answer to that very interesting question. And after that, if it's not satisfactory, then the executioner is waiting with a sharpened axe. So, this very simple question is actually a game of life for Mr. Knight. He has to get it, or it's his head, his life, everything. There's another portion of the poem that's very relevant in this regard. That is, how exactly is the knight trying to get the answer to that overwhelming, within quotes after Mr. T.S. Eliot, to that overwhelming question. He knocked at every house, searched every place, yet, yes, anywhere that offered hope of grace. What could it be that women wanted most? But all the same, he never touched a coast. So he is going all over the known world, the world known to him, from every pillar to post, to understand or learn what exactly is it that women most desire. There are many answers that he gets in the course of his time. I am directly reading it from the text. Some gorgeous clothes, and others fun in bed. To be oft widowed and remarried, said. Now, this might be this line, that is, to be oft widowed and remarried. That is this eternal cycle of becoming a widow and remarrying once again. This might be a reference to the wife of Bath herself. Maybe she is, sort of sacrificing herself for the humor. That is, she has done this. She has oft been widowed and remarried. Now, there's an interesting incident where it is, that is, the last husband, that's a clerk called Jankin. There was a fight between Jankin and the wife of Bath, and the fight literally went into a fight, that is a physical fight. And after that very physical fight, the clerk, that is the current husband, yielded to her sovereignty. That is, he acknowledged that she, the wife of Bath, is the master, the dominant force in the household. Others again, line number 105, others again, and some that what most mattered was that we should be corseted and flattered. Flattery. Well, flattery is something that, as general wisdom would have us believe, women always like, especially the medieval wisdom prevalent at Chaucer's time. But anyway, none of these answers prove themselves satisfactory to the knight himself. The knight knows that none of these answers will do. My personal opinion is that our knight is actually looking for a very unique answer, a very unique and universal answer which will settle all doubts once and for all. Now, this kind of answers, that is, women wants good clothes, women want good clothes, women want to be flattered, women, to quote the words of Mr. Coghill and Mr. Chaucer, women want fun in bed. Now, these are mostly one-sided answers. They are not universal, because there might be some woman who doesn't like flattery. There might be a woman who has taken a vow of eternal celibacy and she simply doesn't want to have any fun in bed. Or it might be a woman. There's a woman who is practicing to be a hermit. She simply doesn't want any gorgeous clothes. So none of these answers are universal answers. I'm saying the word universal in a sense that it should be something which, a kind of answer, a kind of reason, a kind of reasoning that once you hear it, you know this is the thing, this is the answer, this is the answer that no one will ever dispute. So the knight is looking for that. And in the course of the text, as you have read it, he finds it in an old, within quotes, hag, H-A-G, an old woman who is very ugly, very unattractive, and not a matter of romance, not a matter of medieval or any time, or romance of any time, that any time period, that is. Let me go back to the text. As he rode home, line number 165, as he rode home in a dejected mood, suddenly at the margin of a wood, he saw 24 ladies. They were dancing and suddenly they all vanish. Save one old woman crouched upon the green. Well, the old lady, bent by age, crouched on the green floor, the grassy floor of the forest. A fouler looking creature, I suppose, could scarcely be imagined, Chaucer's own words, that she herself, in her ugliness, surpasses all the ugly women in the world. And said, Sir Knight, there's no way on from here. Tell me what you are looking for, my dear. For peradventure, that were best for you, in your best interests, we old women know a thing or two. So that's her avowed statement. We old women know a thing or two. Once again to my Matribhasha, that is, if we do this in Bengali, our beloved Bangla, it would sound something like this, যে আমরা বুড়ি একেবারে বুড়ি মহিলা যারা, তারা কিছু কিছু জিনিস জানি যেগুলো অন্যরা জানে না. I don't think Chaucer is, sort of saying that age is wisdom, not like that. But it's the interest of the story. গল্পের নিজের একটা ধারা আছে, যাতে he has to bring in an old woman, a very unattractive woman whom no knight, however sexually starved he may be, would never have the lustiness, the unconfirmed lustiness of the physical sort enough to be in a physical relation with. Now, it might be that this contrast between beauty and ugliness is actually a ploy by Chaucer to show that much wisdom can lie in a very ugly body. Or it might be that it's actually heightening the plot itself. That is, we are in an anticipation that this ugly woman, once she saves the knight's life, what would she demand? It might be something that's, well, we'll see. The text remains to be seen. Dear mother, said the knight, alack the day, I am as good as dead if I can't say. If you could tell me, I would pay your hire. Give me your hand, she said, and swear to do whatever I shall next require of you. If so to do should lie within your might, and you shall know the answer before night. Well, there is the promise of the answer, the all-inclusive answer which has evaded the night all this time. So, there is going to be the answer. Well, let's fast forward, that is. So the lady, the old lady, she's in the court, and well, she has to say something. That is, she has to give the answer. That is. This is from lines 213 of the Neville Coghill text. My liege and lady, in general, said he. The knight is speaking. The knight is giving the answer. A woman wants the self same sovereignty. Sovereignty, that is the power, the absolute power, or the rule, or the right to rule over her husband, and as over her lover, and master him, he must not be above her, and master him, that she is the master, he must not be above her. That is, she and he should be either parallel in their power or in their stature, or it might be that she is a bit over him. That is the male. The female is over the male. What is quite certain here that he, the male, should not have all the power in love or in the household. In all the court, not one that shook her head. No one disagrees. Everyone knows that this is the answer, or contradicted what the knight had said. The knight's answer is not contradicted. It is the answer. Maid, wife, and widow cried, he saved his life. Everyone says that the knight has kept his head, and the answer is so much correct that no one would dare persecute him. The knight is saved by an old, ugly lady. Well, so let me place a pause on this. There will be another part of this very same talk in which I will get back to you with the things that happen afterwards. That is, afterwards, the knight has given the satisfactory answer and the old woman has saved his life. Do read the text and try to understand that this, as a poem, is not just a story. It is, I think, it's my personal opinion that it is more of a proto-feminist text. Maybe it's the Chaucerian way of looking into how a woman's mind actually works. This much for now. I will get back to you with the second part. Have a nice day, or evening, or night, whatever, as I say.